Hello and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. I am the founder and the spiritual director. Now, as you are sitting there joining us, you may have questions, any number of questions, such as, who am I? How did I get here? Spiritually integrated arts means what exactly? What is a teaching center? Well, what is Centers for Spiritual Living? What is that? What does that even mean? Or New Thought, or religious science, or science of mind and spirit? You may have any number of questions about this specific community, about the parent organization, CSL, our philosophy, our teaching, our liberation theology. Any number of questions. Feel free to send an email. We look forward to connecting more and building our virtual community, our global community. And if you haven't connected yet on social media, feel free to do so. This is your invitation now. Also, did you know that all of our Sunday messages are archived on our YouTube channel? You can watch it anytime. Now, questions about anything, such as becoming a member. What does that mean? What does membership entail? And if you live somewhere far and already belong to a spiritual community, can you be a member of more than one? The simple answer is yes, you can. Just like you can shop at more than one grocery store, you can attend or be a member of more than one gym. We are building beloved community. So you can do both. You can be a member of both. You can be involved with both. That's what being in spiritual community means. So we welcome you. We invite you. We are so appreciative that you have found this community and that you have joined us today. We bless you. We love you. We welcome you. Live long and prosper. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of our Sunday message. Love you. Connect with you soon. Blessings. Namaste and greetings. June, holy boldness, and today we are fired up. Fired up. Have you ever been on fire about something? And nothing, and I mean nothing, could convince you otherwise because you were so on fire, so fired up about whatever it was. Nothing could convince you otherwise. Well, where did that fire, where did it come from? Keeping in mind that there are times we can be so fired up or on fire about something that is non life affirming. The KKK are fired up, they're on fire, and they set crosses on fire. And in many cases, nothing convinces them otherwise. And yet, and yet, because there are people like Daryl Davis who is on fire, fired up about what it means to be connected in compassion and unity. Because of how fired up he is able to douse the fire of hatred, bigotry that many Klansmen are on fire with. And as he puts out their fire, referencing that, a new fire comes into play, a fire where now both, where two and more are on fire together and fired up together, then unity must be in the midst. Peace and equity must be in the midst. So, where does this fire come from? So, as we sit back for a moment and reflect on fire, passion, fire, vitality and enthusiasm, fire, inspiration, this thing that wells up within us and causes us to act in a certain way. Where does that come from? How does it interconnect with our mental equivalents? Breathe. So, do we realize that our imagination plays a part, that our entire consciousness, our beliefs, start the blaze? All of these things come into being. Just like if you were going to, I don't know, stoke a fire in a fireplace. Well, you need the wood. Well, you need the fireplace. You need the wood. You need the kindling to, get it started. You need something to spark or set the initial fire. You need the oxygen so that the fire can breathe. You need the chimney for the smoke to escape. There are many things that are needed in order for this thing to occur. So, if we're going to move further into this idea this month of holy boldness, then we have to be mindful of what does it mean for us to be fired up? What does it mean for us to be on fire? What is the thing that ignites the flame of passion and joy and equity and justice? What is that? Realizing that ultimately this idea of holy boldness is that fire in the belly, that thing that moves us, that propels us with conviction. And when Dr. Holmes references prayer, spiritual mind treatment, he reminds us that this conviction, this fire, is necessary, is necessary for effective treatment, for effective prayer. What are you convicted of or by? What is your fire? In what ways are you set ablaze? Now, you all know I love me some comic books. And in the Marvel universe, there's a team, the Fantastic Four. And one of them, this gentleman, Johnny Storm, is the Human Torch. Just so you know, that's who this character is, which you're going to see more of him in a moment. But he's inviting us. How many ways can you think of that we use fire in a symbolic or metaphorical manner to represent something? Well, let's start with fire symbolizes wisdom, enlightenment, knowledge, and intellect. Think about that for a moment. Fire is illumination. Stars shine with brilliant brightness, and we refer to someone who is intelligent as brilliant. Their light of intelligence is shining. Fire represents power, empowerment. There are many cultures around the world that when someone makes their transition, someone who anywhere between a leader of great honor, fallen soldiers, those who have died as a result of war, and in some cases for people who have been amazing educators or something that furthers learning and the expansion of knowledge, there is the eternal flame. If you ever go to Atlanta, there's a eternal flame that burns for Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And it's right outside of the King Center, the memorial museum, place of knowledge and learning, remembering our past. So in many cultures, we use this idea of fire in many ways, and fire is used to represent that which both is a destructive force and that which is a catalyst to purify. It represents birth and rebirth, just as the phoenix, the bird of fire, and renewal, evolution. So we use fire in a great many ways. So when you are fired up, when you are on fire, are you connecting that to your wisdom? Are you connecting that to enlightenment in any way, shape, or form? Empowerment? Brilliance? Realizing that there is that eternal flame, because that wisdom that is God, that infinite intelligence that is God, that infinite illumination that is source and spirit is always burning in, through, and as you. You are the embodiment of the eternal flame of the universe. But do you live that way? Do you live with that realization? Do you live from that realization? Because oftentimes when we talk about someone being fired up, it may be someone who's fired up about their baseball game, someone who ran into an irate customer at a restaurant and they're fired up. I can't believe they didn't leave me a tip. I'm fired up about it. I need to complain and vent, flip some tables. So when we talk about this, and I understand, sometimes it's for linguistic convenience. But once again, referencing holy boldness, we are invited to be fired up, not in the ways that collective consciousness usually refers to it, which is frantic, agitated, distracted, emotional, and out of control. Rather, let's look at it from a life-affirming point of view, a life-affirming energy where to be fired up is to be excited, to be enthusiastic, to be passionate about something, to cause someone else to be passionate, excited, enthusiastic about something or someone. Enthusiasm, en theos, in God, with God, as God. So to be fired up, to be enthusiastic, to be fired up is to be in God, with God, as God, with spirit, as spirit, in source, with source, as source. In what ways are you fired up, and how does that fired upness show up? How does being on fire, how does having passion show up in, through, and as you on a day-to-day basis? Now, normally people reference passion, and we can reference passion as love, rage, desire, enthusiasm, once again, and a variety of things. Passion. Have you ever stopped to think that oftentimes we are operating more from the opposite of passion? Many of us are living from the opposite, and we are offering the energy of apathy, aversion, hatred. Hatred as the opposite of passion. So check that. Whoa, wait. Say, what now? What you talking about, Willis? So when we say that the Klansman is very passionate about their cause, well, yeah, but they're also operating from the opposite of passion. Talk about paradox, duality, because they're operating from an energy of hatred. This is yet another reason why we are invited to move beyond simply the jargon and get to the root of whatever it is we're talking about. Get to the root of our philosophy and teaching. Get to the root of it. Because oftentimes we are so jargon heavy that we don't really get to, well, what exactly are we talking about? Because I can talk about the Klan as being passionate, full of whatever, in a non-life affirming way. Because they can be enthusiastic about handing out pamphlets for a rally. And yet their passion is also operating from the opposite, because there's also a hatred that they are promoting and that is marinating within their consciousness. So we come back to this space of when we are fired up, when we are passionate, what are we talking about? Are you passionate about love? Passionate about equity, inclusivity? If you are, then does that mean you have some kind of fervent conviction that you are emotionally invested? Or are you apathetic, indifferent, unemotional, unenthusiastic? If you are impassioned, then are you, once again, is there an intensity, a burning desire to express, create, manifest, walk the walk. How is this energy showing up? Because one can be calm in a life affirming way, and one can be calm in a way where it is coming from the energy of being impassioned, being cold, being indifferent, being so peaceful that you aren't doing what is actually yours to do. I'm going to just meditate. What's going on in the world has nothing to do with me. I'm going to just be at peace. Yeah, all well and good. But when your peacefulness is now a hindrance, then what do? So once again, we often say we want to be peaceful. We want to be calm, cool, and collected. But are we talking about it from a life affirming manner, a life affirming position, or a non life affirming manner and position? So back to the archetype of Johnny Storm, the human torch. In the comic books and in the two representations in the films, he literally is engulfed in fire. And then, fire is his thing. He can fly, he can shoot fire, like balls and beams of fire and fire. He is literally on fire. And that's his superpower. Well, what if your superpower is also being on fire, fired up? Because once again, it is being filled with the passion and the fervor of enthusiasm, of spirit, of life, of love. And if you are truly on fire and fired up, then your very presence is giving the warmth of love, the light of illumination and enlightenment. You need not even open your mouth. Johnny Storm, just walk into a room and there's warmth and there's light. Doesn't have to say anything or do anything other than walk in. Does it happen when you walk in to a room? When you are in someone's presence, do they feel the warmth of compassion? Is there insight and eyesight and God sight and foresight increased because of the illumination you give off? Dr. Holmes reminds us, someday, I gotta start singing, Tracy. Someday my prince will come. That's where I was going to go. But back to the theme of today. Someday we shall learn to lay our burdens on the altar of love, that they may be consumed by the fire of faith in the living spirit. Remember, we talked about a couple of slides ago the metaphorical, symbolic reference of fire. Well, once again, fire can be used or seen as a destructive force, as well as a catalyst for purification, for rebirth, and renewal. Someday, we shall lay our burdens on the altar of love, that they may be consumed, transformed, reborn in, through, and as that which is the living spirit. Breathe. So rather than someday, now this may be referencing the collective. Someday we, as a collective entity of humanity, shall learn to lay our burdens down. Cool.
But for the sake of today's conversation, let us ask, today, are you, am I, are we willing today to learn, to practice laying our burdens? Pause. What are our burdens? What are your burdens? What are my burdens? What burdens are we talking about? Because we can't lay them on the altar of love if we can't even identify what the burdens are. So, first, we got to learn what our burdens are. Okay, suppose we got them. Okay, on the altar of love. That's a symbolic, metaphorical thing. There is no space or place where we're so if you go down 16th Street, make a left on L, go 2 blocks north, it's right past the Chipotle. That's where the altar of love is. It's not like that. The altar of love is that space within your own consciousness where love reigns supreme. It is that space right here and right now where we are. God is right here, right now where we are. That space within our own awareness where we bring love. Here's the burdens. Put them down. Let them go. I release and I let go. And in its place, there is love. Because as I lay them on the altar, fire consumes and burns and purifies, transforms. And that which is no longer of use, ash. And if there is something of value, then from the ashes, the phoenix is reborn, renewed, revitalized, the living spirit. But we can't do any of that if we don't even know what we're talking about. He goes on to remind us that love is the central flame of the universe. No, it is the very fire itself. Love is the fire itself. The essence of love, while being elusive, it pervades everything. It fires the heart. It stimulates the emotions. It renews the soul and proclaims, declares the spirit. Now, I don't know about you, but this, in terms of what I see happening in the world, this, in terms of what I see happening within theology, religion, philosophy, both in New Thought and outside of New Thought, this, I don't witness it very often. I do not see this essence of love that pervades everything, that fires the heart and stimulates the emotions, renews the soul and proclaims and declares the spirit. I don't see many of us embodying this. Now, do I see it? Yes. Do I practice it? As much as possible. So in terms of that, yes, I do see it then. But in terms of the number of people that I witness talking the talk while not walking the walk, I see that a lot. So our invitation is, how do we embody this? How do we move beyond the jargon? Fires the heart. What does that mean for you? Stimulates the emotions. In what way? Which emotions? Renews the soul. Well, what does it mean for the soul to be renewed when the soul, that which is the infinite and eternal, incarnating, why and how does it need to be renewed? Are we even talking about the soul the way we talk about the soul? Or are we talking more about renewing our mind, renewing our mental equivalent or equivalent? Proclaiming and declaring the spirit, what does that? See, we can't do it till we know what it is. So that's part of our invitation is sit sit in the space beyond the jargon to come up with relevant, applicable, not even necessarily words, terms, and phrases, but relevant and applicable embodied practices that show up as we navigate life. Because what matters more, that you tell someone you love them, that they tell you, or that you show them and they show you? One of those matters far more than the other, because you can say it and not show it. You can show it without saying it. Animals don't say they love, the animal parent. They don't say, "Arr, arr, 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 arr." They show it. The way that tail is wagging, the way they dance around, they're showing their love. The way they lick your face, they're showing they love you. So let's get to the space of what it means to show the essence of love, to show the fire that stimulates the emotions and fires the heart and renews the soul and declares and proclaims the spirit. Let's show it. Let's be about it rather than just talk about it. Dr. Holmes goes on in another place to say our prayers should be filled with conviction. Not just our prayers. I'm going to say that our lives should be filled with conviction, warmth, color, and imagination. The creative power responds to feeling more quickly than to one's mental attitude. How we feel more so than how we think. Our lives should be filled with conviction. What does that look like? Our lives should be filled with warmth. What does that look like? Our lives should be filled with color and imagination. But what does that look like? When we walk the walk, what does this look like? And which feelings? If the creative power, that which is the law, responds to feeling, which feeling do we want it to respond to? Do we want it to respond to the feeling of fear? Because it will. Or do we want it to respond to the feeling of love? Because it will. The feeling of possibility and hope and joy, or dread and apathy. Because it will. It already is. Not only must we have a complete faith in spirit and its ability to know and to do, but we must have complete confidence in our approach to it. We must not be lukewarm in our conviction. We must know that we know and be fired up in that conviction. We must not only have complete faith in spirit, and it's, pause for a second. You may have heard me say this before, unless you're new. You know how I often talk about we don't have faith, faith has us. And because faith has us, we are invited to let the fullness of that faith be embodied, then complete faith, not just in spirit, but complete faith as spirit. Complete faith as spirit. But we're going to remix this. Remix. Not only must we have complete life affirming faith as spirit and its ability to express in, through, and as us and life itself, as well as our innate wisdom to know and to do what is ours to do. But we must also demonstrate a complete confidence in our embodiment of it. We must know that we know and live like we know. Live like we know that this complete life affirming faith as spirit has us. Live like we know. Now, when we reference life affirming faith, we are talking about those things that bring what we desire in terms of joy and bliss, family connection, meaningful connection. And then there's life denying faith, worry, fear, dread. Because faith in general is to have confidence in someone or something, to have complete trust in someone or something, to have an expectation that something will occur. If I expect to go on a job interview and not get the job, or to bomb the interview, the audition, then I am utilizing the power of faith. If I expect all of the gummy bears to be sold out by the time I get to the candy store, I am using the power of faith. I am embodying the energy of faith in a non-life affirming manner because that is my expectation. I have confidence that it will be gone, that people have bought it and it's sold out. I trust that it is gone. I trust in lack and scarcity to such a degree that why even go? I already know it's sold out, and I'm living like I know it, based upon what I trust, and based upon what I have confidence in, and based upon what I expect. Non-life affirming faith or life denying faith. So what do we want to do though? Because we have an option, we have a choice. We have an opportunity, excuse me, to transition to more life affirming faith. Now, faith is the assurance, the confidence, the trust of things hoped for, divinely desired, and the evidence of things not seen, the conviction of their reality, even when you do not yet see the external evidence of it as it relates to being experienced by the physical senses. Faith is having the confidence and the trust that what you desire divinely already exists even before you see it. We already do this though. You do realize that. We already practice this. But the thing is, we compartmentalize and make it like there's this one element of faith where it's so difficult to, and yet there's this, which is common and everyday. Before you open your refrigerator, you don't see the light inside on, but you trust that it will come on once the door is open. And when it doesn't come on when the door is open, wait, what's that? You're now shocked. You turn the faucet on, you expect. You have a certain trust and confidence and assurance that water will flow. You trust that when you flush the toilet, it will go down and disappear. even though it hasn't happened yet. You don't have the evidence of it, but you believe that when A and B occur, C must follow. That's faith. If we're already doing that with the toilet bowl, why aren't we doing that with our relationships, with our finances, with our health and well-being? See, we can use faith when it comes to that, but not when it comes to this. Then we really may want to focus on shifting that. And Jesus told them, because you have such little faith. So listen, what I tell you is the truth. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can tell that mountain to move from there to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible to you. Now, we could have a whole seminar, workshop, discussion series just on this passage. Mountain, is this figurative mountain or literal mountain? Is Jesus saying that when you have the kind of faith he's referring to, you can literally tell Mount Fuji to move and it will move? He says, nothing will be impossible to you. Does that mean I can fly like Superman if I have this kind of faith? Or is this simply linguistic convenience to invite us into a space of greater awareness, greater capacity, greater possibility, something? That's a conversation for a different day. For now, we simply will and meditate. To what degree am I using the faith that already has me? In more life affirming or life denying ways? How am I utilizing faith? Dr. Holmes says, if we are to have an active faith, the faith of God, instead of merely a faith in God, our thought must be centered in universal mind. We must be convinced that under divine law, he's saying it too. He just, all things are possible if we only believe and work in conformity with the principles of that law. Wait. Is he meaning this literally? All things are possible? Or is he just repeating what Scripture said when Jesus said all things are possible? Because if we're saying all things are possible, then we can create a world without war. War need not be a thing. But is it because we still believe in war and we still operate under that paradigm? Is that why war is still a thing? Because he said, all things are possible if we work in conformity with the principles of the law. Such a faith as this does not spring fully orbed into being, but it grows by knowledge and experience. In other words, by practice, by putting it to use. No matter what the outside appearance is, we must cling, conviction. We must cling, hold fast. We must cling steadfastly to the knowledge that that which God is goodness itself, and that God is all there is, underneath, above, below, around, outside, inside, and as right here and right now. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, we can walk through the darkest night with the radiant conviction that all things work together for the good. Okay, I hear him. And I also want to remind us, because oftentimes, once again, because of the metaphor and the symbolism, we vilify the darkness. So I just want to remind us that the darkness isn't, quote unquote, the enemy, but let's remix this passage from Matthew, referencing the light. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor does anyone light a lamp and put it under a basket, but rather they place it on a lampstand so that it can give light to the entire house. So let your light shine before people in such a way. Let your light blaze and be brilliant. Let your life be illuminating in such a way that others see the good that you do, your actions, and that as a result of that, they are transformed in the ways that heal, in the ways that transform, in the ways that honor their divine magnificence. So, whatever it is, whenever we're talking about the darkness, in referencing this, it is not the quote unquote yin energy that we are talking about. It is the darkness of ignorance. And it is ignorance to a certain degree of the spectrum that causes people to operate from a paradigm of racism, homomisia, warmongering. That's ignorant. Because if they knew better, they would do better. But their knowing is rooted in lack and scarcity, fear and hatred. So that's what they're fired up about. Our invitation to be fired up with this power, to be fired up with this light, to be fired up with this love that then transforms them and their consciousness because it transforms the collective. All things are possible when we work in harmony and in one accord with divine spiritual laws. All things are possible. Breathe. Dr. Holmes says, prayer leads one to a place of mental acceptance. But prayer without faith is ineffectual. Faith elevates the prayer to conviction and acceptance. Now, do you already know what I'm getting ready to say? Pause. You already know what I'm getting ready to say about this? Do you already know what I'm going to say about this? Yeah, other than we're getting ready to remix it because there's a couple of things in there. Okay, so let's remix. Prayer as a way of life leads one to a place where one's mental equivalents are something that Dr. Angela Davis once said. I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I'm changing the things I cannot accept. I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I am changing the things I cannot accept. Reflect back to that idea of our burdens. When prayer is a rote, drab, apathetic, non-fired up thing that we do, we go through the motions, and it lacks the fire of life-affirming faith, it will be, in the grandest sense, ineffectual. Life-affirming faith elevates the prayer as a way of living, and as such is imbued with a powerful and boldly audacious conviction and a radical acceptance. Life affirming faith. Prayer as a way of life. Rather than simply doing prayer, how you live is how you pray. Your life is your prayer. Your life is your amen. And part of this concept of being fired up and having passion and doing this and there is also the balance of knowing when to have the audacity to proclaim freedom by way of rest, by way of self care in the now. Because as Tricia Hersey says, rest has been revolutionary for my soul. The collective consciousness, cognitive imperialism, would have us work ourselves into the grave. It is revolutionary spiritual practice to know when to stop and rest, to know when to say no. Be so fired up about your life, your self-care, that you know when enough is enough, that you know when no is the divine response, that you know when the sacred practice of a nap ministry is called for. Science of mind and spirit, when it is truly understood and truly practiced and truly lived by us as a way of life, it will by default inspire and invite us to be a living declaration of what we proclaim ourselves to be. It empowers us to live, to move, and to have our beingness with the audacity to proclaim the divine truth of our being. Knowing the truth of our being, then, by default, moves us into greater and greater expressiveness of our being. We cannot help but to be fired up as the illuminating presence of love, forgiveness, healing, transformation. Can't help it. Breathe. This week's affirmation declaration, I will say it first, and if it resonates, say it with me the second go round. I am fired up and ready to live life fully. Together. I am fired up and ready to live life fully. And so it is. This week's journal questions and the study group questions. Where in your life are you invited to change the way faith is experienced and expressed? What does being fired up look like and feel like to you? Are there differences depending upon what you are fired up about? What are they? What are you passionate about? In what ways would people around you bear witness of your passions and your faith? And lastly, what might be preventing you from being fired up? How do you address whatever that is and rekindle your fire? Breathe. Breathe in the awareness that that which is. The infinite fire and the infinite flame that God is burning in, through, and as us right now, burning away what is no longer needed or wanted, and burning up, burning out that divine wisdom and creativity the divine expression of love. For this fire is both the destructive force that gets rid of, as well as the revitalizing, rejuvenating, transformative, healing fire of the universe itself. So that grudge no longer serves me. I burn it away. And now what burns in its place is simply the fullness of what love and joy and forgiveness are. This relationship that does not nurture, it does not support, it does not benefit who and what I am now. So I burn it away. And in its place, I burn with the connective fire of oneness and harmony, of loving, nurturing, supportive relationships. I allow this fire, this eternal flame of love, of light, of expanded consciousness to so illuminate my life that I know what is mine to do and I do it. That I know what my burdens are and I lay them down. I know what my life-affirming faith calls me to be, do, and have, and I am being it, and I am doing it, and I am manifesting and having it as my experience right here and right now. And as I say this, knowing that God is all there is and knowing that the words I speak apply to everyone, this truth applies to everyone watching now or everyone watching the recording later. The fire of spirit burns brightly. The fire of forgiveness burns brightly. The fire of joy burns brightly. The fire of wisdom burns brightly. The fire of the universe burns brightly. And we collectively are so fired up that the entire collective consciousness is transformed, renewed, and revitalized to such a degree that warmongering, war consciousness, and all of the thought forms that create war are burned away into extinction. And in the place of the fires of joy, the fires of harmony, the fires of oneness, the fires of peacefulness burn brightly. For we truly are fired up and ready to be the very embodiment of all that God is. Because we don't simply have faith in God. We are the faith of God expressing. And the law says yes, which means it's done. And knowing that it's done, I stand back and marvel at the magnificent way that the universe does what it does, the way the law does what it does, the way God shows up and shows out on fire, always and in all ways. This life, my life, God's life. There is only one life, and that life is God. And that life is my life right now. That life is each person's life right now. And that life is answered prayer. And so it is. So it is. Breathe. Namaste and blessings, everyone. Much love and appreciation. And be sure to look into the chat to see if we're actually meeting for fellowship today. Because there's that possibility that we will not be. So double check and make sure. And if we are, I will see you there. And if we're not, I will see you somewhere, same bat time, same bat channel, either during the week or next Sunday. Love and appreciate you.